Hey guys, this is part 3 of Jump Ship's How We Got Here, talking about our journey from where we started to now having 2 gyms in an online company in Hawaii. I think last we left off, we just had kind of started dealing with COVID down in Florida.
We were driving to my mom's house.
Yeah, found a buyer for the gym and we're heading to Phoenix.
Yeah, so we kind of didn't really know where we were going to go or end up. We were just like, gotta go find somewhere to live essentially and then just figure it out from there. So we just started driving my mom's house.
We tossed around a bunch of ideas.
We tossed around a bunch of ideas, but nothing fit what we both wanted for requirements.
Yeah, we couldn't agree. We had specific requirements we were both looking for and they weren't lining up, so we weren't exactly sure where we were going to go.
Yeah, so we just started driving. Went to my mom's house. She has 2 dogs, so we had our 2 dogs. So it's 4 dogs in like a pretty small house. It's like August, so if you've been to Arizona in August, it's like you can't go outside.
Record heat waves.
Yeah, it was like so hot. Dogs' paws like can't touch this pavement. Like it was so hot. Like if we wanted to work out, it would have to be at like 6 a.m. or else it was like way too hot. Like you can't even breathe.
So we were cooped up in that house mid-pandemic still the middle of all the bad stuff. And nothing to do except work on the online company and didn't know exactly where we were going to go.
Yeah, and then we had, I don't remember why, but we had booked like a weekend trip or something to San Diego to visit like some family. I don't know why we booked it, but like we just booked it because we were just like gonna go there for a few days. And then like in the time, we probably booked it maybe a week out or whatever. And from the time of when we had booked that trip, we had just been like, okay, we're just gonna go to Hawaii. And we were like, okay, so now we're like scrambling. Okay, how do we get a car to Hawaii? How do we get the dogs to Hawaii? How do we do all of these like things?
One thing that was good is we knew we were going to go to Hawaii because we had some business opportunities. We've been planning stuff pre-pandemic to come out here for business things, and we didn't know how long we were going to stay. So we did start to get our dogs ready.
But then COVID made it impossible to go.
But luckily we had gotten our dogs ready for a trip because we didn't know if we were going to spend 6 months out here or what.
Actually going even further back, we had a trip to Hawaii booked for May that we had to cancel.
We did?
Yes. So we had a trip booked, but then we had to cancel it because of COVID. So that's what like turned all this stuff upside down.
Oh yeah, you're right.
We had a couple trips we had to cancel.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's what. So we ended up in Phoenix. We had a trip booked to San Diego, which we were gonna just like drive to San Diego for like a weekend or whatever. And then what ended up happening was like we drove to San Diego. We drove up to Long Beach to drop our car off at the port.
Yeah.
And then we just like booked a one-way ticket from LA to Honolulu with the dogs and everything.
Yep.
And all we had was like literally 5 bags and shipped the car and didn't really have like a place to live. Like we just found like a studio, like Airbnb like type apartment thing. And then once we had gotten here, we like quarantined like for 14 days. Like we did not leave this studio apartment with the dogs. We like couldn't go anywhere. Our car was like in the middle of the ocean.
Well, we couldn't go anywhere. We also didn't know anyone.
Yeah, we didn't know anybody.
We came out here with nothing.
And right when we got here, Hawaii did like a lockdown. I think it was their second lockdown. So like nothing was open. It was the one too where like you couldn't even, like hikes were closed, beaches was closed. I think the only thing that you were like allowed to do was be like on the ocean.
You can swim in the water.
You can swim in the water.
You can't hang out on the beach.
Yeah, you couldn't do that. So it was super weird. We like just were like, okay, what do we do now? We're in like just a tiny house, and the dogs were crazy. We would like leash them up and like walk them in and out of the driveway like 1,000 times because we had nothing else to do. So then we wound up here.
Yeah, and then so like the way we kind of got our gyms is if we actually back up a little bit. So when we had kind of talked about different places that we were considering landing, you had gotten in touch with a couple people that you had heard kind of through the grapevine or whatever that they were either closed or impacted by COVID or wanted to sell.
I think it was even before that though. Because,
it might have been.
Yeah, I think I'm getting all the... It was a lot.
It was a lot.
But yeah, at some point, like when we were just like exploring different places where we might want to live, because Seth didn't want to be like this far from the rest of the world. Like I was like, send me out, like I'm ready to go. But like, you know, you have to...
I'm still coping with it.
Yeah, you have to consider like we're really far from family and like we're by ourselves out here. So
to leave and do anything is a insurmountable task, basically, especially with COVID.
Yeah, so I wanted to live here like 100%, didn't care what it took, so I had to convince him a little bit more, but we're exploring all different places kind of all over the country that essentially has no snow and is warm. That's about the one too.
Yeah, the places I wanted had like maybe a little bit of snow at one point during the year. Just
No.
she wouldn't have it.
No
So
snow.
I had no options.
Zero snow. But yeah, so at some point, like, you know, around COVID, I was just reaching out to random gym owners and stuff just kind of everywhere and just kind of seeing like what opportunities existed for us outside of Florida, knowing that we likely weren't going to be staying there. And I had heard back from just a couple different gym owners here. You know, some were like, yeah, we're interested in selling. Some were like, no, you know, like it just all different answers. So I had kind of had a couple different point of contacts, nothing, you know, set in stone by any means. And then obviously at whatever point COVID hit, so then everything changes in that moment.
Yeah.
You don't know if any of these gyms are staying open. You don't know anything. Like,
You don't know what their business
yeah,
is
you don't
even
know
like.
what the business looks like.
Yeah.
So anyway, so when we finally got out here, I had reached back out to some of these people and was just like, hey, we're here. Are you still interested? You know, what's your situation? And a couple of the gyms were completely closed, like done. One of the gyms, which we ended up kind of working with, they had closed but still had all their equipment. And then another one of the gyms, like one of the partners had to move for like other reasons. So there was kind of a bunch of different like scenarios. We were kind of just like, okay, how do we make this work? Is this what we want to do? Do we want to stay here? Like all of these like kind of crazy things.
All of these things would be really difficult things to try to navigate on its own. But then you're talking about putting in a bunch of our hard-earned money and investors' money into a gym business in the middle of a lockdown.
It's not even open.
Not even allowed to be open. That's literally what we were doing, is how do we open a business that cannot be open at this time,
Right.
and there's no plan to tell us when it can be open.
Right. It was absolutely horrifying.
It was really, it still is. I mean, we're still in the middle of it right now.
Yeah.
Literally, things are getting worse as we speak, make this video. Like, so we're still dealing with this. It's gotten better, and then it's gone way worse again. So we're still navigating it, but at least we have some, you know, we have the blueprint and the foundation laid down to get through it, we hope.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so we ended up, yeah, like she said, we kind of had one gym that was a little closer to the side of the island we wanted to live on. We partnered with somebody who is very experienced in the community. She had a gym, helped bring over some of her members, some of her equipment, and then we had another gym that was closed, not interested in being reopened, and they sold us basically the whole lot of equipment just to...
So equipment out here too is like gold. So like
Yeah.
trying to
Doesn't
get
matter how beat it is.
Yeah, like trying to get any. It was different for
Very
us
different.
because like normally, you know, all the other gyms we've kind of had, you buy like brand new, like beautiful, shiny, like Rogue equipment, but here it's like rusty. You know, the weather doesn't, you know, help it much.
The
But
shipping,
like
it's 2 to 3x the cost
Yeah.
that you guys pay in the main.
the shipping is absolutely insane. It's like, yeah, it's just absolutely terrible. So. So we were lucky that existed for us because that would have been a ginormous cost that, you know, you normally, we had a good idea of what it would cost to like outfit a gym with equipment, but then you add the shipping in and you're like completely wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even close. So that worked out really well. So yeah, once we decided to open up the Kailua location, we're like moving forward on that opened up December 1st of last year or 4th or something, I don't know.
Something like that.
December of last year. You know, things are going really well. And then one of the gyms that we had, you know, kind of just like previously talked to a little bit, but nothing ever really came of it. They had essentially reached back out and said that the gym was for sale. It was kind of like it was kind of like a take it or leave it situation for us where, you know, if we didn't buy it at that point, somebody else would have bought it or who knows what would have happened.
Yeah, who knows?
So like when we first came out here and once we decided, okay, we're going to stay here, like I definitely wanted to have 2 gyms at some point, but like certainly not in the manner that we had done it, which was like one in December and then one in February in the middle of COVID.
See, when she said that, I was thinking one gym, and then 2 years later,
So
maybe
that's-
have a second gym.
And that's what I was thinking too.
Not
but
the
like
way it worked
the
out.
opportunity was there.
Yeah.
And like you don't know. It was just there was too many moving things and too much with the COVID and like it was just crazy. And if we didn't do it, we don't know. You know, you just don't know.
Yeah, and it felt like it was the time with COVID and everything else that a lot of people who weren't in it 100% anymore with, you know, just with their efforts, whether it was a hobby gym or whatever, they just wanted to be done. It just took too much of a toll on them to find the balance of all this. And so like we, on the other hand, are coming back into it kind of, I don't want to say rejuvenated, but like with a new purpose, a new look.
And this is also like what we do full time.
Yeah,
so there's so many, not even just Hawaii, but like anywhere, there's so many gym owners that have other full-time jobs or whatever. Like this is like what we do. So
Right.
it felt like it's like we can't pass up like a great
Opportunities.
gym with
Yeah.
a great opportunity, even though it's a lot, and it's still a lot, and it's like coming up about a year, and we're still like trying to navigate, you know, like making good decisions for both places. But yeah, I think like a lot of, you know, people kind of thought like, oh, they're just going to go buy up all the gyms, and it just like was never like that, and it wasn't even the intention. But like, again, when you're handed or given a chance at something, like we would have been silly to not take a crack at it. That was kind of our thinking, and at the same time we were like, how the heck are we going to do this, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and people, it's funny because like, you know, the random rare times I post to Instagram or she posts, like, you know, a lot of times we try to post the fun things we're doing out in Hawaii, the food, like the, you know, just things on the island and the beach. But like our days consist of about 10 to 14 hours of work, 7 days a week. And so people who think we're out here living,
literally 7 days a week.
7 days a week.
We haven't, actually, today is our one year Hawaii moving anniversary, and we have not taken one day off.
Not a full day off at all.
No, zero. So it's
definitely a different way of life out here for people who want to be successful. It is a grind, but you can make it work really well if you're willing to test out different avenues that maybe might be outside your comfort zone and the way that you approach.
We also knew, like, you just hear all the time, Hawaii is super expensive, like, which it is. So we knew that we were going to have to, like, double down and work extra and harder to try to, like, kind of set ourselves up and build something. And, you know, every day it's tiring and it's hard, and we work, you know, we're working multiple different jobs, and, you know, we'll continue to always try to, like, make the best decisions for those. And then for us personally, try to, you know, use the ones that are you know, best suited long term, I guess, and make changes on the ones that aren't.
It's I don't want to say that we're definitely not special in our circumstance, but we talked about in the first couple videos with our different backgrounds in business and kind of how we both learned and grew through, especially the fitness industry, having both sides of this, putting our minds together and running a couple gyms, an online company that keeps growing, among other little things we're doing. Like, it's the only way that we would be able to survive out here is by having our background and experience, and then having the willingness to work 10 to 14 hours a day. And when something goes wrong, you have to deal with it, fix it right away. Like, that's the life and that's the grind you're gonna have to do for a while. We know we're gonna have to do that for a while out here, but then, you know, we hope the payoff is worth it in the long run. So
yeah, but where does that leave us now?
I mean, it leaves us literally sitting right here in our garage gym talking about, you know, how we got here 1 year into our Hawaii trip. It's kind of fitting that this video is going to come out 1 year. No, it's just kind of random. 1 year after we got here, this is where we're at now. We hope to do more videos that kind of give you guys more insight on what we do. Like, we'd like to talk about some of the business things we've done, kind of how we've built up online companies, gyms, things we do like that. So hopefully we have more of that stuff for you guys. But I hope that answers some of your questions for our story. It's kind of vague, right? We covered like 10 years of two people's lives in like literally 45 minutes over 3 videos. But
yeah, I would like to get like more specific on like certain things. So if you guys like have any questions or anything, it would be much more helpful if you ask them than us try to guess.
We have stories, like we have stories. So eventually, you know, if you want to know something, let us know.
The stories will come out.
The stories, we'll talk, we'll put it out there. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys. So.